Welcome to the ClashCast. My name is Marcin. This is Nicholas Scala. Hello, Nick.
Good afternoon.
And we are going through the earnings reports. So Microsoft reported first, the most important company out of the group that did already. Right, Nick?
Of course.
Okay. It was a little bit of a mix here. The EPS, which...
If that's how you want to put it.
Well,
I gotta remember how you phrase things for next week's episode.
I'll go
A
through
little bit of a mix.
I'll go through this because the EPS was a miss. The 62 cents versus 64 cents expected, but they actually beat by $10 million the consensus projection. So 22.1 versus 22.09. That's a $10 million difference.
Yep.
Okay. So
Good to see that you could still do math after a couple of years out of college.
because of that slight miss, the stock fell 7% naturally. As Nick knows, Wall Street's kind of funky with some of these
I need to
reactions.
write all of this stuff down for when Apple announces its earnings, because it's a completely different story for you then. Stock fell 7%. Sell. Apple's terrible. Oh, but the market's funky for Microsoft.
Well, because I'll dive into it. Let's look at the underlying numbers.
All right, let's go into it.
There's 3 divisions in Microsoft, just to get everyone back. If anyone forgot, productivity and business processes, intelligent cloud, and more personal computing. Productivity and business processes was up 1%, and they'll remind you, and actually a lot of these figures are in this figure, constant currency, because the dollar is a lot stronger, and that's actually hurting a lot of U.S. firms. So they say if the dollar hadn't gotten stronger, they would have actually gone up 6% in revenue for this. So Office Commercial is part of this, up 7% since last year, and that includes Office 365. So businesses are buying a lot more Office 365 subscriptions. Those are up 63%. Office Consumers up 6%, which includes consumer subscribers up 2 million to 22.2 million. So Nick, that's like $100 coming in every year, guaranteed from 22 million and growing people. You can't beat that.
I mean, what else are they going to use? Google Docs?
Exactly. If we had like a third like Google guy, he'd be crying right now, but we can just...
Or you can use iWork, and we all know that that's a disaster.
It is. It's a total disaster.
But even don't you think that everybody that has I guess the number of businesses are growing? Because don't you think if you have a business already, you have Microsoft Office on it?
Yeah, and you get all bundled stuff. Like you get that terabyte of cloud storage included in that, which is a pretty good deal.
Right, which I've never used. Well, from a consumer perspective.
But it's there for people who are interested. Dynamics, which is CRM, this isn't interesting for us, but it's up 9%. Their seats, their online seats doubled year over year. A seat is, I think, a license, like a user.
I just thought it was like a physical chair in the cloud. Is that not how it works?
Yes, but they have to be very light because otherwise they'll fall through.
I get it.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we're on to the intelligent cloud section, which is like server and Azure. So this is where Microsoft hosts people's software or developer tools, businesses, like their databases are in these products. So that was up 3% and 8% in constant currency to 6.1 billion. Server products were up 5% and Azure revenue, and this is the meat of Microsoft these days. This is like the future, was up 120%. Usage doubled year over year, so that's huge. It's still not a big part of their revenue, which is why there's that transition thing happening, but it keeps doubling or even more. Every quarter we talk about this pretty consistently. Enterprise mobility, which is like their suite of tools that let businesses manage, you can call the bring your own device trend, so iPhones and Androids and any kind of device that you have. They have a suite of tools that let IT manage, not personal, but company information and apps and licenses. So that doubled to 27,000 customers, so businesses, and their installed base grew 4 times year over year. And now more personal computing, which is more relevant to me, you, anyone who sees Microsoft from a consumer angle, or just the forward-facing part, not the plumbing in behind. That was up 1% and 3% in constant currency to $9.5 billion. So the interesting parts here, Windows OEM revenue, so licenses that are sold to OEMs that sell Windows computers, that declined only 2% And I don't know if, Nick, you remember, but recently there was a Gartner, I think, report that said that PC sales fell 10% this quarter. So you might be wondering where that discrepancy is happening. That's because there's apparently a higher premium device mix starting to come out in the Windows market. So the Pro version of Windows, which is more expensive and is generally on more expensive machines, is selling better than the regular home version. So that kind of shows you that the premium devices are becoming a larger part of the Windows device chart, the pie, sort of like Apple products are in that price range. I think it's 900 or plus, 1,000 plus devices that are becoming more a larger part of that sales. And that goes into Surface, which is up 61%, driven by Surface Pro 4 and Surface Book. It's their first ever consecutive quarter of billion plus revenue, third overall, and I put only major device family on the planet growing, ? And we'll see after tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll see.
61%. Let's see if they can beat that.
Well, obviously they can't beat 61%. It's a lot easier to come from 3 devices and drive it up to 5 devices than it is, millions and millions of devices, but okay.
Okay. Because $1 billion in revenue is 3 devices, but that's fine.
What I meant to say is that the Surface market is a lot less saturated.
Okay.
So it's easier to achieve growth in a less saturated market. That's all I'm saying.
Got it. Now the bad news. Phone revenue down 46%.
I'm sorry, the stock falling 7% wasn't bad news. The EPS missing, that wasn't bad news.
See, this was, so there's 2 ways, well, there's several ways to think about this. One is, of course, their sales were falling. No one wants to buy their kind of dilapidated line of phones.
Yeah, something like that.
Not very well designed. There's been bugs with them. They haven't been promoted. They're on less carriers than before because Microsoft's strategy is to retrench, quote unquote. So they basically are cutting down production. That's one. 2, they made less choice available in the market, so there's less models for people to choose from in different price brackets. And 3, there's just not that demand. So that is equivalent to a $600 million revenue fall, which, if you're interested in unit numbers, is 8.5 million Lumias last year to 2 million this year.
That's incredible.
I know. Even though it's part of a trend, but yes, I can't think of anything that has fallen on that scale.
Yeah, so you want to say the only major device family on the planet growing for the Surface. Well, I'd want to say that the Lumias are the only major device family on the planet falling so rapidly.
iPad gets there on some quarters, close to that, like 20%, like 24%, something like that. It's not that.
But that's like what, 80%? 75%?
Yeah, units fell, but again, revenue was not that big of a fall because I think they sold a lot less low-end phones, but not that much less high-end phones, if you know what I mean.
All right, we'll see. We'll see in a week.
So the question is, I guess coming out of this is like one of the hot topics. Will there be a phone division even come this summer? It seems like Nadella was never hot on the acquisition. It was acquired, the Nokia division was acquired before he was CEO, and there were a lot of rumblings that he was not happy about it when it happened. So he's kind of been, like you poked a balloon before in front of the thing. Like you poked the balloon and let it deflate. If you want to think of the phone as that for them.
Nice analogy.
So there are 2 ways they can keep this going.
One is just to give up.
Okay, 3 ways. Thank you for the first, Nick. Now I can focus on the other 2. They wait until 2017 with a more full-featured and app-filled Surface device.
More apps. Because I've been hearing that for the last 5 years.
They're at 500,000 now in total. And the Universal App Platform, I think every 2 or 3 days I see 1 or 2 apps that are either, you could call them mid-tier or upper mid-tier, that get universal application versions. Because primarily people are targeting the Windows devices. And there's 270 million Windows 10 devices now, so that's becoming a big market. So you would just naturally shrink the UI a little, and it works automatically on phones. So,
yeah, like I want Photoshop on my phone.
That's not the point. What about like the Daily Mail, for example, released their app, and it's universal, so it's on there. And if you download it on your phone, it's a small version.
You're right. So they'll wait for more apps to come, which they've been waiting for A decade. Continue.
I wouldn't say a decade. I would say 4 years. But okay. Or this Surface device is actually a Microsoft-dominated Android with Cortana integrated, etc., etc. Because if you change, right? Interesting concept. If you change the UI and you allow universal apps to also become Android apps, then you can have a device that sells Microsoft services, because that's really the end game. They're not really interested about selling 30 million or 50 million devices in any of their families, but they want people to use their services. So if they push that to the front and they start to get a Surface device that kind of has a different form factor, maybe they make it like a computer and they make it an Android back, it can run all those Android apps while pushing their services and allowing developers to target everything at once. So that's a lot of, there's negatives and positives to that strategy, but I think we need to wait about a year before we see what the result of that their thinking is. Meanwhile, Lumias are just going to keep falling off a cliff. So this is going to be a quarterly story which you'll enjoy, Mr. Scala.
Yes, it helps me wake up in the morning.
Just wake up and life doesn't suck. Lumia sales are falling off a cliff.
Exactly. Now you're getting it.
Xbox Live active users up 26% year over year to 46 million. I think that is like people paying $50 a year too. So lots of subscription revenue coming in and lots of active. They want people using the store, playing games. This isn't just people playing games. They're also downloading movies, TV shows, etc. And
isn't it crazy? Just as a side note, isn't it crazy how we've grown as a technological society? I have subscriptions for like a bajillion things.
I don't even know.
I've got Creative Cloud. I've got Netflix. I've got Amazon Prime.
Office.
I've got Dropbox. I've got Office. I've got my website. Everything now is a subscription.
Yeah, everything's
it's crazy.
Recurring revenue. There's no more upfront, but these companies can rely on these streams, which is why.
Oh, right. Apple Music. Mm-hmm. I pay extra for iCloud space. It's unreal.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't think about it, but like, sure enough, you're spending $100, $200 a month on just services.
Mm-hmm. Some of which you don't use during that month.
Right.
Anyways,
I digress.
We can attack that topic later. Kill it with fire. Search advertising revenue up 18%. That's partly due to Windows 10 usage, which is great. That's part of their strategy to get people to search.
Now all they got to do is integrate with iOS, and then they'll have some real growth.
I thought you were the default engine. They were
no. I think Google won out the last round.
Mm.
Although they do use it in
iOS 10.
I don't know. We have to look into that.
Yeah, it's not like we have Macs nearby to check.
I know, right?
This is all Windows house. Everything here. No, actually, we run this whole show on Android.
Clash Tech. I'm going to search for that. And it doesn't really say what it's using. It doesn't.
In the spotlight, there's no like results by thing in the corner?
No, it just says top hit, and then it says web and nothing.
Interesting. So, to summarize, the cloud continues to be core of Microsoft's business and growth, and it did slow down somewhat compared to a few of the previous quarters, but the huge revenue shortfall was thanks to that devices hit, which was higher than anyone thought. They're obviously cutting production a lot faster, and people are not wanting to buy Lumias a lot faster than analysts were anticipating. So that alone was worth a $600 million shortfall compared to last year's quarter. I think Microsoft's still a solid business, and they're still alive. I don't know if you agree, Nick.
Yeah, I would, at least for the next quarter.
Okay. We'll see if they don't go bankrupt in July.
You've heard it here first.
So, quick bites. Let's see what we got. Would you like to go first, Nick?
Sure, I'll take the lead on that, Marcin. Thank you for passing it over. My quick bite for this week is an article that came out a couple of days ago, I think 2 days ago, about supposedly Apple ramping up prototyping on the Apple car. They've made a number of hiring acquisitions. A couple of people from Tesla has been brought over. Also, a guy from Aston Martin who worked for Tesla, also Aston Martin chief engineer. He's being brought over. And supposedly there's rumors that they're using what they call their product realization lab, which they've previously used for Macs, iOS devices to prototype them out. Supposedly, they're starting to build some car parts in there and prototyping. I don't know, but this is what the rumors are saying. Obviously, the last thing that we've heard from Apple is that it's going to be Christmas Eve for a long time. Again, I'm probably not in favor of an Apple car. I've gone on the record. We've talked about this before. But, we'll see where it goes. If anything, maybe they partner with a pre-existing car manufacturer and make like a really cool, dashboard or something, and they don't make a whole car.
Apparently, BMW and Daimler, I think, were talking, but now they're not. Some kind of disagreements over the cloud
negotiations
stuff.
There have come to a halt, and supposedly to take its place, they're looking at Australian-based automotive manufacturer Magna.
Mm-hmm.
But supposedly that's what's taking their place.
All right.
That's my quick bite, Marcin.
So, on the subject of transportation, which is becoming a very hot topic in technology these days, I think it's a very exciting field. Maybe possibly the most exciting at this point. Elon Musk is hinting at a bus solution to fix congestion and that it's going to be autonomous. That's very great and reminds us why Elon Musk is the greatest man on the face of the planet at the moment, trying to fix all of the world's problems. We hate congestion on buses. I don't know how much you use the bus, but whenever I do, I'd say it's a mess 60% of the time.
At least.
So hopefully he fixes that. And we don't know if it's going to be through Tesla or it's like he did the Hyperloop, but that was more of an idea that he farmed out to research and other organizations. But it's good to see that he's working on something useful for a change, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very exciting. It's very exciting to see. I think we live in a very exciting time with a lot of things changing. Obviously, we've talked about devices being in a little bit of a limbo. Do I use an iPad? Do I use a phone? Do I use a hybrid device? All of that sort of stuff. But also, yeah, a lot of changes going on in transportation with ride-sharing apps. You have your Ubers and stuff like that, and also the switch to autonomous driving. So it'll be very interesting to see where this all plays out.
Mm-hmm. So
a story for our grandkids, if you will.
I remember. Okay. I think that's it for this week, Mr. Scala.
That's all I have, Marcin Scott.
All right, so we'll see you all on the next ClashCast, where Apple will be totally destroyed and wrecked.
Yes, they will wreck the records and have a record-breaking quarter. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.